A top chemistry student accidentally transmigrates to the Douluo Continent, awakening the supreme martial soul, the periodic table possessing 118 types of ultimate power. What self-created spirit ability? A simple combination of carbon, hydrogen, and thousands of organic secret arts are at my fingertips. What Phoenix true fire? Just add high-purity hydrogen to some white phosphorus, and I'll send you to the afterlife with pure immunity to all poisons. Poison elemental toxic stone drum. A top-tier martial soul instantly dissolved into dish soap, while the gods of the divine realm remained high and mighty. I directly activated peace mode, unleashing a weapon of mass destruction from the bottom of the high-energy radiation overflows, disintegrating their spirit power, physical transcendence, causing all the gods in the sky to suffer from targeted hair loss. This asterisk is what you call a top-tier spirit ability. To hell with your clear sky majesty, or the glory of the angels. Before the absolute strike of nuclear fission, everything shall turn to dust. An accidental catastrophe 8 years ago brought me to this Douluo continent. At 6, I shone brilliantly during the martial soul awakening ceremony. The children on site awakened one after another, mostly common items like sickles, hoes, flowers, and grass. And unremarkable martial soul. But when it was my turn, the atmosphere in the entire hall instantly froze. A phantom image, wreathed in a faint, silvery white glow, its surface etched with dense, mysterious patterns, hovered silently above my palm. It was actually the complete periodic table of elements, encompassing all 118 chemical elements, exuding an aura of vast and unfathomable mystery. Enough to make everyone conclude that this is absolutely a peerless and heaven-defying martial soul. What is even more shocking is that I was born with full spirit power shortly after. I was discovered by Flender, the dean of Shrek Academy, and was forcibly taken back to Shrek Academy. Flender has spent his whole life studying conventional martial souls and was fundamentally unable to provide me with any systematic guidance. For the past 8 years, I have relied entirely on the chemical knowledge from my past life to study on my own. Just a moment ago, I finally broke through my shackles, successfully ascending from the peak of level 39 to the realm of a level 40 spirit ancestor. And then there's Ma Hongjun. When he first joined the academy, he wielded the top-tier beast spirit, the evil fire phoenix. He thought his supreme spirit made him invincible under the heavens, repeatedly provoking me in public. He mocked my spirit as nothing more than flashy claiming tricks. It could never compare to his phoenix true fire. Today, Ma Hongjun has challenged me to a duel. They went all out from the very first strike. The crimson phoenix flames blazed fiercely, sweeping across the entire arena, the oncoming inferno. I remained perfectly composed, neither dodging nor retreating. My martial soul stirred silently within me with a gentle lift of my fingertip. The countless nitrogen atoms permeating the air were instantly awakened by my spirit rapidly converging around me as the center. In the blink of an eye, they formed a dense and impenetrable nitrogen barrier, completely engulfing the incoming phoenix flames. The violent inferno surged and lashed within the nitrogen layer, attempting to incinerate everything in its path. Nitrogen is inherently highly inert. No matter how high the temperature climbed, it could not ignite this barrier in the slightest. Ma Hongjun's eyes widened in shock. The evil fire he took such pride in was extinguished so nonchalantly. But before he could recover from his astonishment, I had already completed a new, precise ratio of elements. With spirit power swirling at my fingertips, I precisely fused the trace amounts of fluorine and phosphorus drifting in the air, transforming them into a wisp of transparent, odorless, invisible, and tasteless faint mist. It manifests without form and leaves no trace, quietly seeping through the pores of Ma Hongjun's exposed skin. It flowed backward along his meridians, sealing several vital acupoints in an instant, completely obstructing the flow of his spirit power. Ma Hongjun felt a sudden chill on his back, as if icy needles had pierced deep into his marrow, followed by a wave of numbness spreading through his limbs and bones. His spirit power circulation came to a sudden, and he stumbled half a step forward. With a heavy thud, he collapsed to his knees. Moments later, he face-planted into the dust. Only his ragged, heavy breathing echoed across the vast training grounds. It took less than the time to brew a cup of tea. A clean and decisive crushing defeat instantly shattered Ma Hongjun's arrogance. This fatty has always had a sharp tongue, bullying the weak while fearing the strong. Today's lesson was well-deserved. Consider it a small lesson for him, to help him learn his place. Most importantly, I wanted someone to test out my latest discovery on. Listening to Ma Hongjun's exaggerated wails, I shot him a glance and said, "Shut up." Ma Hongjun fell silent instantly. He obediently clamped his mouth shut, left only to lie on the ground with a bitter expression, enduring the strange, numbing sensation surging through his body. At this moment, Dean Flender approached with his hands behind his back, walking with measured steps, knowing well that I always act with great discretion. He did not reprimand me, but instead said, "The Academy's enrollment begins tomorrow. Continue. You shall be responsible for the final round of the assessment." I nodded and replied, "Understood, Dean." Judging by the time. This time, Shrek Academy is recruiting students, and the others should be arriving soon. Ma Hong-jun lay on the ground, wailing for a while. I stood to the side the entire time, arms crossed. My expression remained indifferent. That the timing was just right, I gently tapped the back of Ma Hong-jun's neck, injecting a wisp of spirit power. The itching sensation that had been plaguing his limbs vanished instantly. He took a few deep, gasping breaths. He scrambled up from the ground, flexing his stiff arms and legs. He approached with a fawning, ingratiating smile. "Thank you for showing mercy, Brother Yun. It won't happen again, I swear. There won't be a next time." Absolutely not. Before the words had even faded, he had already turned around and bolted away. Early the next morning, Shrek Academy's enrollment begins. Daimubai leads for young men and women across the playground. They are none other than Tang-san, Ziwu, Jujuking, and Ning Rongrong. Daimubai strides forward. He nods at me, then turns to face the four of them. He points at me, his tone carrying a hint of solemnity. "The final trial lasts for the duration of one incense stick against him, and you shall pass the test." As soon as these words were spoken, all four pairs of eyes turned toward me simultaneously. Ziwu tilted her head, sizing me up for a moment, before bursting into a giggle. "He looks about the same age as us. Maybe 14 or 15 at most. Four of us against one, and we only need to hold out for one. Why do I get the feeling that we can actually beat him? Is the final assessment of your Shrek Academy this simple?" Daimubai crossed his arms over his chest, his expression turning quite grave. "Beat him?" He let out a scoffing laugh, tinged with a hint of self-mockery. "If Chen Yan were to go all out, I'd be floored in a single exchange." These words caused the smiles on the four's faces to fade a little. Has Tang-san ever crossed paths with Daimubai, defeating Daimubai in a single exchange? Is this person's strength truly that formidable? Jujuking's gaze sharpened. She began to reevaluate me. "All I can warn you about is to beware of the poison. I will say nothing more. Judge for yourselves," Daimubai added. Upon hearing this, Ziwu patted Tang-san on the shoulder and said with a playful grin, "What is there to be afraid of? Tang-san is a master of poisons. If he dares to play with poison in front of us, he's just walking straight into a trap." Didn't reply, but a subtle hint of confidence tugged at the corner of his lips. He held great confidence in his own mastery of toxins, especially when facing an opponent who also wields poison. He didn't feel much pressure at all. I paced to the center of the arena, standing with my hands behind my back. The rules for the final trial are simple. The four of you shall join forces and hold your ground against me for the duration of one incense stick. I will not take the initiative to attack, but if you can even graze the hem of my robe, you shall be considered to have passed." These words were spoken as calm as still water. Yet to the four of them, these words struck like a clap of thunder. The four of them joining forces, and just one kick to win. This was clearly a blatant disregard for them. Ziwu raised an eyebrow, just about to snap back, when she saw me close my eyes slightly, as a faint ripple of spirit power surged around my body. Immediately after, 3 spirit rings rose slowly from beneath my feet, ascending from lowest to highest, hovering in sequence before them. First spirit ring, second purple spirit ring, purple, third spirit ring, purple. The 3,000-year spirit rings, under the sunlight, shimmered with a deep, dark purple radiance, striking the training ground like 3 silent bolts of thunder. Tang-san's pupils contracted sharply. His teacher flashed through his mind what Yu Zhaogang once told him. On the Douluo Continent, there is an ironclad rule regarding spirit ring. The first spirit ring can only withstand a maximum of 423 years. The second spirit ring has a maximum of 764 years. A spirit ring, under no circumstances, could ever appear in the first 2 slots. This is the law of cultivation for spirit masters, one that no one can break. Yet the person before him clearly possesses 2 purple 1,000-year spirit rings, and its color is deep and profound, the age likely far exceeding the 1,000-year limit. Tang-san clenched his fists tightly, his knuckles turning slightly white. For the first time, a surge of indescribable shock welled up from the bottom of his heart. Who exactly is this youth named Chen Yan? Why does his path of cultivation differ so drastically from all other spirit masters in the world? Was also stunned. Her lips parted slightly, unable to close for a long time. Though she is not human, she is well aware of the common knowledge regarding spirit rings. A through-ring configuration is simply unheard of. Ning Rongrong frowned slightly, shaking off her initial nonchalance. Jujuking was the least reactive of the four. She merely let out a low hum and made a subtle adjustment to her footwork. The feline combat instinct has been quietly awakened. Tang Sen took a deep breath. He said in a low voice to the three people beside him, his spirit power cultivation should be around level 38 or 39. A direct head-on clash offers little chance of victory. I will test his poison using techniques. Ziwu feign an attack to divert his attention. Juking find an opening to close in. Rongrong provide support from the rear with your 7 treasure glazed pagoda. If he truly intends to use poison, leave it to me to handle. I watched them whispering and deliberating without urging them on, simply standing quietly where I was, my gaze sweeping leisurely across the 4 of them. The morning breeze brushed against the stray locks on my forehead. While in the palm of my hand, I had already condensed a faint wisp of soul power. This is carbon monoxide, formed by the mixture of carbon and oxygen and odorless, silently spreading across the sky above the training grounds. The assessment has officially begun. Tang Sen was the first to move. He flipped his palms outward. Over a dozen strands of blue-silver grass burst forth from the ground, slithering and winding along the terrain, intending to weave an inescapable net beneath my feet. Ning Rongrong activated her 7 treasure glazed pagoda as the 7-colored radiance swirled. 2 beams of amplification light descended upon Jujuking and Ziwu respectively. Strength boost. Speed boost. Ziwu tapped her toes against the ground, flanking from the left at an incredible speed. Her right hand slightly splayed. The explosive power of the soft-bone rabbit already coiled in her legs moved almost at the exact same moment. Her lithe figure dropping low, the nether civet spirit manifested behind her, leaving a trail of near-ethereal after-images. A chilling gleam flickered between her claws, aiming straight for my right flank. The 4 of them coordinated with impeccable synergy. Facing such a fierce onslaught, I remained perfectly composed. I snapped my thumb and index finger in midair. Boom! A sudden explosion erupted right in front of Ziwu, exactly 3 feet ahead of her path. The explosion was not violent, yet the sound was sharp and sudden, as if a massive invisible gas had been ignited in an instant, bursting forth in a visible ring of white shockwaves, which surged forward, crashing directly into Ziwu. His forward momentum had not yet faded, and he felt as though he had slammed into a taut drumhead. Violently repelled by the blast of air, he staggered back more than a dozen steps, followed immediately by a second boom. This explosion erupted right in Jujuking's path. The shockwaves surged forward. Jujuking was jolted, her arms thrown upward. She crossed her cat claws in front of her to parry, yet the blast still sent her tumbling backward. She landed on one knee, her feline eyes filled with gravity. Tang San's blue-silver grass seized the moment to strike. They are already closing in on me. But at that very instant, I saw only a wisp of soul power flowing silently. The trace amounts of white phosphorus drifting in the air were precisely extracted by me, and in an extremely light and thin layer attached to the surface of the blue-silver grass. The ignition point of white phosphorus is terrifyingly low, 40 degrees Celsius, under the slight heat from direct sunlight and air friction. It instantly ignited into wisps of white smoke, and tongues of flame spread rapidly along the vines. In the blink of an eye, the blue-silver grass, spread out by Tang Sen, was scorched into a winding fire dragon. Tang San's expression shifted slightly, hastily retracting his martial soul. With a flick of his wrist, he whipped the burning vines against the ground to extinguish them. In just a single exchange, the trio's offensive was completely thwarted. Ziwu steadied herself amidst the shockwave and brushed the dust off her skirt. His small face was pulled tight, though he remained unconvinced in his heart. He no longer wore that carefree, mocking grin from before. He whispered, "How on earth did he trigger that explosion? I didn't even see him throw anything. I hadn't even moved half a step just now. Yet with a mere flick of my fingers, I neutralized the combined assault of all 3. This technique of detonating from thin air, leaving everyone completely baffled. Only I truly understand the real reason. Just before that snap of my fingers, I had already silently separated and gathered a small, concentrated mass, a mixture of oxygen and flammable gas in the air, raising the oxygen density far beyond normal levels, and then used a trace of spirit power to form a hair trigger boundary. The tiny spark provided by the crisp sound of the snap. The vibration alone is enough to shatter the equilibrium of the boundary, triggering a precisely calculated combustion. The principle is simple enough to explain. It is merely the 3 fundamental elements of combustion in chemistry. These 4 would naturally not be defeated by such a minor setback. Jujuking sprang up from the ground once more. Her cat-like pupils suddenly narrowed into slits again. Her figure transformed into a blurred streak of black. This time, she did not charge head-on. Instead, she employed a serpentine, zigzagging advance, making it impossible to predict the direction of her assault. Ziwu gritted her teeth and charged forward once more, fully unleashing her soft-boned rabbit martial soul. I remained standing exactly where I was, neither dodging nor evading. I merely tilted my body slightly, spread the fingers of my right hand, and gently reached into the void before me. The moment my fingertip pressed down, spirit power surged forth. I seized the free carbon elements in the air, gathering, condensing, and rearranging them at extreme speed under intense compression and the guidance of my spirit power. The carbon atoms rapidly tiny diamond nuclei interwove and grew in the void before me. In the blink of an eye, they formed a translucent, glistening crystal shield emitting a cold, faint glow. At that very instant, Jujuking's claws tore into it. Spear. Her nether civet claws struck fiercely against the surface of the diamond shield. Sparks flew in all directions. Piercing pain surged through all 10 fingertips at once. Her knuckles were numbed by the violent recoil. A trace of blood seeped from the webbing between her thumb and index finger. Leaping backward to land on her feet, she lowered her head to gaze at her slightly trembling palms. The edges of the claws on his fingertips had already developed several tiny cracks. Had he not reacted in time and pulled back some of his strength, this strike would have likely shattered all of his own nails. The diamond shield remained completely unmoved, not even leaving a single scratch behind. My God, what on earth is that thing? Ning Rongrong saw it all clearly from behind and couldn't help but gasp in shock. What he just manifested was a diamond of that size. As Ziwu's high whip kick whistled through the air toward me, I calmly sidestepped without a hint of panic. My protective shield shifted to the left simultaneously, blocking Ziwu's assault entirely. Tang Sen stood a few paces away, in no rush to make his move. He was observing my every movement, seeking a way to defeat his opponent. I must understand his offensive maneuvers, but my combat style is fundamentally different from that of an ordinary spirit master. Up until now, he remains completely unfathomable. At this very moment, the four of them suddenly came to a halt. Ziwu shook her head slightly and said, San, why do I feel such a severe wave of dizziness? Ning Rongrong and Jujuking also furrowed their brows simultaneously, a trace of pallor flashing across their faces. Both of them clutched their foreheads simultaneously, each staggered back half a step. Ning Rongrong spoke up. I feel dizzy too. Could it be that we've already been poisoned? Jujuking bit her lip in silence, but the fine beads of sweat on her brow betrayed everything. This is the carbon monoxide I set up earlier taking effect. This colorless and odorless gas has already silently seeped into their bodies. Tang Sen himself felt that something was not quite right. The symptoms his body was exhibiting were indeed indicative of poisoning. However, from the very beginning, ever since he heard Daima Bai's warning, he had been extremely cautious. He had absolutely no idea when the poison was administered. Tang Sen swiftly searched through the thousands of descriptions of toxic substances in the Tang Sect's poison canon within his mind. Yet he could not find a perfect match for his current symptoms. He quickly darted to Ziwu's side. He gripped her wrist, his fingers pressed firmly against her pulse. He channeled his spirit power into her body to investigate even deeper. Ziwu's heart rate was accelerating. Her blood oxygen levels were dropping. There were no clear traces of toxins remaining in her meridians. This closely resembled the poison detection methods recorded in the Tang Sect's colorless and odorless. It leaves the meridians unharmed. It possesses the power to steal one's breath. Extremely difficult to guard against. Carbon poison is typically accompanied by the flames. It can be controlled directly with spirit power. The carbon poison in the air has spread across the entire arena. This has already exceeded the scope of a traditional poison master. Ziwu's symptoms are becoming increasingly severe. Leaning against his shoulder, beads of sweat seeping from her forehead, with a faint, fluttering voice, she called out, I can't seem to muster any strength in my hands or feet. Tang Sen gritted his teeth and shielded her behind him. The gaze he fixed upon me turned chillingly cold in an instant. Ziwu is the person he holds most dear. Seeing the pale color of Ziwu's lips, a surge of fury welled up from the depths of his heart. His left forearm trembled slightly, and the mechanism of the silent sleeve arrow hidden within his cuff clicked open. Driven by the spring, 3 short blades pierced through the air. The angle was incredibly treacherous, aiming straight for my throat and heart. Yet the third arrow, midway through its flight, suddenly veered slightly, tracing an elusive, unpredictable arc, aiming for the undefended gap beneath my right ribs. However, the very moment the arrow struck, a crystalline, translucent shield had already manifested before me. The diamond shield surface was smooth as a mirror, as the embroidered arrows nailed into it one emitting a rhythmic asterisk ding-dash sounds of metal clashing rang out. The tip of the sword shattered. Not even a single scratch was left behind through the translucent shield. I watched Tang Sen calmly. In the next instant, I raised my finger once more. With 2 snaps of my fingers, a deafening boom erupted. 2 explosions detonated simultaneously on Tang Sen's left and right, one half a step ahead of his toes, the other 3 inches behind his shoulder. The shockwaves of the explosion converged and struck from abruptly all sides, cutting off Tang Sen's ghost shadow perplexing track footwork. Tang Sen's expression shifted slightly. He pivoted sharply on his toes against the ground, using the force of the blast to roll a dozen feet to the side. Upon landing, the fabric on his shoulder was already scorched black, and several red welts appeared on his exposed forearm. He dropped to one knee, his lips pressed into a thin, grim line. Those 2 explosions just now. He clearly sensed the fluctuations in spirit power beforehand, yet he still couldn't fully evade the trajectory. This can only mean my prediction of the blast's impact point was faster than his reaction. Tang Sen took a deep breath, pushing off with both feet in quick succession, driving his ghost shadow perplexing track to its absolute limit, his figure flickering unpredictably from left to right. Flick explosion. You must constantly change your direction. Tang Sen himself has also suffered carbon monoxide poisoning, but his constitution is clearly stronger than Ziwu's. Jujuking and Ning Rongrong. The toxins have not yet taken full effect on them. Ning Rongrong, from the rear, is doing her best the final to provide bit of amplification to Tang Sen. Tang Sen is seen moving at high speed, while continuously hurling multiple sets of hidden weapons. The first set of 3 bone-piercing needles fired straight at the throat. The second set of 5 iron lucky charms scattered, blocking all paths of lateral evasion. The third set consists of silver needles. On the sidelines, Daimobai gasped in cold shock. During their previous encounter at the hotel, Tang Sen clearly hadn't used his full strength. Otherwise, I would have been in great danger. But no matter how much he struggles, he cannot defeat me. Seeing this from afar, Zhao Wuji straightened his posture slightly, raising an eyebrow. He was quite taken aback by Tang Sen's endless barrage of hidden weapons, facing the iron projectiles filling the sky. I nearly let out a soft chuckle. With a flick of my left hand, a piece of dark silver metal the size of a palm appeared in my grasp. And then this metal, infused with my spirit power, it softened and stretched rapidly under the infusion of power, reshaping itself. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into a perfectly round sphere, its surface shimmering with a cold, matte luster. I held the pitch-black sphere out before me. The surface of the sphere trembled slightly. An invisible section force suddenly unfurled. With a series of crisp, clattering sounds, bone-piercing nails, caltrops, and silver needles, every iron-based hidden weapon as they entered within 3 feet of me. Their trajectories uncontrollably bent and veered off course, scrambling to latch onto the surface of the sphere. They were embedded, layer upon layer, Tang Sen came to an abrupt halt, staring at the black sphere that had absorbed all his hidden weapons, and murmured a single term in a hoarse voice. Magnet iron 2,3 oxide. I corrected him. Also known as magnetite, naturally occurring magnetic minerals in the wild. Tang Sen's expression darkened. He had never seen anyone on the battlefield who could instantly create a magnet to neutralize his hidden weapon assault. This guy's combat style is truly bizarre. Up until now, he still didn't even know what the opponent's martial soul was. Tang Sen took a deep breath, slowly straightened his back, and realized that ordinary hidden weapons were now completely useless against this man. I saw him press his palm against the inside of his belt, fumbling for a brief moment before drawing out several golden threads, finer even than ox hair. These are the golden dragon whisker needles, forged from natural gold filaments found within a rare type of tendon plate ore. They are exceptionally hard, yet remarkably supple. Once they pierce the flesh, they curl up instantly. Among the hidden weapons of the Tang sect, they belong to that category. The very essence of insidious to its you may not be able to withstand this needle, Tang Sen whispered, with a flick of his wrist. 3 dragon whisker needles flew from his hand, 2 of them, mid-flight, suddenly collided with each other. The impact caused their trajectories to shift abruptly, upward and downward. One needle struck straight for the center of my brow, while the other slid silently along the ground toward Shiwan. The third needle remained hidden within the shadows of the first 2. My gaze remained fixed upon the trajectory of those 3 dragon whisker needles. I am well aware of how insidious this weapon is, facing such flexible and cunning golden hidden weapons. The power of magnetic attraction is utterly ineffective. I slightly spread my fingers, and my spirit power, like fine threads, probed into the air, precisely capturing the highly inert argon molecules nearby. Argon, compared to the air, flows more evenly and remains undisturbed by combustion or static electricity. It is perfectly suited for propelling lightweight hidden weapons made of gold thread. Using my consciousness as a guide, I push an invisible subcurrent of energy from the flank. This current, steady and unhurried, guides the dragon whisker needles to turn sharply. It is as if I am carving a smooth path through the turbulence for the flying needles. bolstered by the thrust of the subcurrent. The 3 golden threads suddenly veer and the once erratic trajectory instantly straightened out. Accelerating into 3 golden threads, they recoiled in a counterattack. They were 30% faster than when they first arrived. Tang San's pupils constricted sharply. His body instinctively dodged to the left. But the dragon whisker needles were propelled by the air currents far too quickly. So fast that his ghost shadow perplexing track could only manage half a step. The first golden thread grazed past his shoulder. The second one skimmed right against his earlobe. The first 2 needles missed their mark. The third one was not so lucky. It sank precisely into the inner side of his left arm. The moment it pierced the flesh, it coiled and tightened, tearing and locking down the surrounding muscles with ruthless force. A piercing, agonizing pain shot straight to his marrow. I transmigrated into Douluo, awakening the heaven-defying martial soul. The periodic table, even the greatest genius of Tang sect poisons, would meet their end from carbon monoxide poisoning when facing me. Little brat, the times have changed. Even a master of martial arts would be forced to vomit by the gods before Tang San could even unleash his hidden weapon. The carbon monoxide poisoning took its toll. A violent wave of dizziness surged straight to his head, and a high-pitched ringing filled his ears. Tang San's fingers trembled, his soul power nearly collapsing. The dragon whisker needle retracted another half-inch inward, the agonizing pain soaking his back in a cold sweat. Tang San gritted his teeth tightly. He forcibly suppressed the wave of dizziness. He knew he could not stop. Once he stopped, the dragon whisker needle would completely lock his meridians. At that point, let alone forcing the needle out, it was uncertain whether he could even save his left arm. He pushed his mysterious heaven skill to its absolute limit. That golden thread was finally, slowly drawn out. Tang Sin collapsed to the ground, utterly exhausted, panting heavily. His left arm, from elbow to fingertips, was drenched in blood. The flesh on the inner forearm was torn open. It was bruised and swollen. His entire arm was trembling uncontrollably. He lowered his head to look at his wound. Then he looked up at me, standing just a few paces away with my hands behind my back. His eyes were filled with a mixture of resentment and malice. At this moment, Flender stepped forward, his gaze swept over the 4 panting and bedraggled new students. Time is up. Exactly 1 stick of incense. The fact that the 4 of you managed to hold out against Qin Yun for a full stick of incense, without fainting, collapsing, or crying out to stop, means you have passed according to the rules. He then continued. Let's start with some introductions. I am Flender, the dean of this academy. This is your senior who enrolled a few years before you. Qin Yun, at your age of 12. To have attained your current cultivation level is truly worthy of being called a genius in the outside world. But you must understand, there is always a heaven beyond heaven, someone better than the best. Which one of you can defeat Qin Yun? Before calling yourselves peerless geniuses, you have all just witnessed my strength. Silence fell over everyone. All right, Flender waved his hand dismissively. He resumed his usual lazy tone. Qin Yun, go ahead and neutralize the poison for them. I smiled slightly upon hearing this. I stepped forward toward the 4 of them. I first approached Ning Rongrong. Although she was more conscious than Ziwu at this moment, her cheeks were still pale from oxygen deprivation, and her brows were knitted in pain. It was evident that the dizziness had not yet fully subsided. I raised my right hand and gently tapped his shoulder with my palm. A wisp of soul power flowed through his Jianjing acupoint into his body, precisely latching onto the carbon monoxide molecules scattered within him. Ning Rongrong felt a sudden relief in her chest as a foul breath involuntarily surged up from her throat, accompanied by a long, deep exhale. That suffocating sensation instantly faded away. My vision cleared, and then I walked and turned toward Jujuking Ziwu and Tang San's sister. If everything goes as expected, Tang Hao should be watching from not far away. It shouldn't be much of a problem for me to defeat Tang San. But I must not actually kill him. After Ning Rongrong had fully recovered, she stood up, walked to my side, and said, Senior brother, I wanted to ask you during our spar earlier, what exactly is your martial soul? We didn't even catch a glimpse of how you made your move from start to finish. First, explosions, then diamonds, and now magnets? This is just too absurd. And how come all 3 of your spirit rings are 1,000-year ones? With this barrage of questions firing off one after another, Ning Rongrong, raised as a little princess since childhood, let her impulsive nature drive her to blurt it all out. Beside her, Jujuking remained silent. Yet those cat-like eyes didn't blink even once, looking intently onto my face. The curiosity in their depths was clearly even deeper than Ning Rongrong's. Even Tang San couldn't help but prick up his ears. He, more than anyone else, wanted to know what kind of secrets this senior, who could so easily defeat him, was hiding. I lowered my head to look at Ning Rongrong, at those sparkling eyes of hers, and let out a soft chuckle. Are you truly dying to know? I shall keep you in suspense no longer. I unfurled my right palm. The very moment my fingers spread wide, a cluster of silver-white radiance rose gently from my hand. Amidst the swirling halo of light, it coalesced into an ethereal map, archaic and translucent. Its surface was etched with a dense array of characters and symbols, arranged in a precise, grid-like formation. It resembled a mysterious scroll, shrunk down to the size of a palm. The symbols on the chart flickered on and off, exuding an enigmatic aura. Upon closer inspection, the symbols in the first 3 rows had already become solid and substantial, shedding their illusory outlines to reveal a dense, tangible texture. The 2 in the first row, 8 in the second row, 8 in the third row. 18 symbols, faintly connected by a golden halo of light, hovering silently within the light diagram. Each one corresponds to the essence of a substance. This is my martial soul. I call it the periodic table of elements. The periodic table of elements encompasses the origin power of all known elements in the world. I do not need to hunt spirit beasts to obtain spirit rings. Every time I break through 10 levels, I can unlock the elemental authority of the next cycle. To continue increasing my spirit power, I must activate all the elements of this cycle. Once they are all activated, these elemental powers will spontaneously condense into my next spirit ring. Overall, my spirit rings differ from those of Tang Sin in the original similar to the blue-silver Overlord Spear, and as my strength increases, the age of my spirit rings will gradually rise. When I first started, my first and second spirit rings were also yellow. When I broke through to become a spirit grandmother and condensed my third spirit ring, my first 2 spirit rings followed suit and advanced to the 1000-year level.